Chicken and Egg Pictures supports and mentors women filmmakers, and we really, truly believe that women filmmakers can help transform the world as we know it. Today is actually a really special day for us. We're in the midst of what we call batch mentorship. It's real live brainstorming. So we're going to get to see sometimes sort of how you translate for the very, very first time ideas and thoughts to a sound designer, editor, or a composer. And we're going to get their first thoughts and their feedback and their heart back, so to speak, just sort of off the cuff.
The project is called After Tiller, and it follows the last 4 doctors in America who performed late-term abortions for women. And it follows them in the wake of the assassination of their colleague, Dr. George Tiller, in Wichita in 2009.
Yeah, the inspiration to make the film came from just watching the coverage of Dr. Tiller's death on the news, which I'm sure some of you saw, and just realizing that the mainstream media can only go so far with such a controversial issue, and just wondering, why would someone go to work every day at a job where he could be shot?
It's a group counseling scene. It's a bunch of a couple different patients in a room with the doctor, and they're talking about what they're experiencing. And we're just going to show a version with the temp music, and then we're going to talk about the ideas for the score and where to go from there.
We're all feeling a lot of emotion just being a part of the experience of watching that, but I was feeling like I would be incredibly delicate if I put music in there. Anyway, so the first cue that comes in, da-da-da-da-dum, that thing, I would say I would break it up to give more space and breath and more attention for the doctor counseling.
Like if you did that, if you broke it up, could you hum it?
Do-do-do-do-do-do-do. And go have a coffee. And then in spaces, it's really like, I think of composing as painting. I hope that you don't mind my analogy, but I guess because I live in museums for inspiration as well as see films, it's visual. I wait for the dialogue to take a breath. I wait for the places where it seems like this is a moment where the powerful language of music can make a little tiny statement.
How would you do that as a composer? Do you like watch and and you look for moments where there's some emotion that you think could be added, basically? Is that how you do it? And then you pull back or disappear when she's talking?
So, I mean, it's really about, I think it starts with caring about people. This sounds really crazy. But really listening to the dialogue, listening to your directors, because they've been living with these people for so long. Really, this is my favorite part of the process almost, is sitting down with the director and hearing everything they have to say about every single character, what they want to do with this film, who they want to see it. You spend a whole day, maybe 2 or 3 days going over the film, depending on circumstances. And so that you already have in your DNA somehow, or your molecular structure. And then you watch it a bunch, and then you, definitely sit in front, or you have it so much in your head that you go to the piano or whatever instrument you write on, and you go fishing. And somehow a miracle happens, and something comes, and you know it's that. And then you make sure you're recording it if you're smart. And then those are for the big, broad stroke things. But then when you go scene to scene, you're sitting in front of it, and you look for the spaces. And the spaces where you don't write could be the most important thing that character is saying, or you wait to underline delicately where there's something that you really want distinguished.
What we're going for, I guess, in a general thematic sense, is trying to incorporate sort of a few different worlds in the film. So they create art out of reality, and their art is censored and illegal, and they're being hunted by the KGB. So we're trying to kind of create this sense of heightened reality by intercutting between their art and their lives. So we were filming them on the ground with underground filmmakers in Belarus. And so we're trying to kind of interweave those different components.
As far as the riot scenes, I would just make them a little more violent, maybe a little more metallic, a little more body hits, that kind of thing. The voices sound pretty good. The people yelling on the street sounds good. And as far as the balloons, when it cuts to the marching, I would speed them up a little so it really matches the rhythm, which is easy to do in Pro Tools.
In terms of, where the music was and what it was evoking, I thought it worked very well with the film, because there's obviously a very strong experimental factor in the art group. So you're going to give the composer a lot more freedom, and this could happen in the Tiller film as well, but obviously in Unstable Elements you could have a lot of really interesting out there experimentations with your sound.
Well, so I think what could potentially be interesting for this film is to sort of try to be both, to try to kind of have your cake and eat it too, because there are some very sort of sensitive, quiet verite scenes in the film that I don't think it wouldn't make sense, I don't think, to try to impose like an experimental style of sound or music.
Well, again, I think it's so well edited that it's great. The music doesn't have to fix anything. I think a filmmaker should always see their film if they can without the music and see if it's working. Also, I think the music could help and heighten to bring people there along with the sound. I definitely felt something pulse-like or aggravating because that's, pretty horrific. And we see a lot of these things on the news. How do you make it feel fresh, like it's the first time, like you're there protesting and your freedoms are taken away? So, and you have the extra wonderfulness of being able to work with somebody who's going to want to be experimental, so you have a bigger palette to choose from. I always think if we invent new sounds in music that we get to create little small audio revolutions and make people a little bit more progressive.